the PowerPoints, everything is organized around chapters because of those. For those who have the book as well, this will help them and all of us be organized together. So chapter 1, the questions are, or the question is, Darwin, let's be specific, I will be specific. Darwin's postulates and the evolution of the eye. Okay. Chapter 2. Now, I'm not saying what the chapter's going over. I'm saying what's going to be on the exam. Okay, would be a Mendel question. And by the way, this is just for the midterm, not for the final. Chapter 3. Population genetics problem. Okay. Chapter 4. Two questions. One, biological, biological and ecological species concepts and allopatric speciation. That's one question. Second question, fill in the blank. On trait comparison. Chapter 5, 6, because I don't separate them. There's going to be 3 potential questions from this, I believe. Yeah. Okay, so first off is territoriality. Okay. Next one is sociality, the one we're going to start with today, once we get done with the review. And then finally, sexual selection, which we will be doing tomorrow and Wednesday. Tomorrow is Tuesday. Yep, today's Monday. Okay. Next, so here's okay. Then chapter 7. Kin and reciprocal altruism. Altruism, yes, we haven't covered it yet. Altruism. Altruism. All right. So if you count the number of potential questions, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, bless you, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So obviously, in order to do an 8-question exam, I had to dump one of the questions. At the moment, I have no idea which one I would dump. Weirdly enough, I might dump the fill in the blank question because that seems to be the hardest question. That's, for some reason, although it's supposed to be the easiest, it does often prove to be hard for students. I'm not sure yet. Okay, I'll think about this week. So once again, do write this down. These are, take a picture if you want to before. These are the questions that will appear on the exam. Okay. I have to get rid of one of them, but these are the questions. So again, from chapter 1, Darwin's postulates and the evolution of the eye. Chapter 2, the Mendel graphing problem. Chapter 3, the population genetics problem that we spent that day going over. Chapter 4, biological and ecological species concept. What is a species? And then allopatric speciation. How do you get a new species in the biological concept? The trait comparison problem, what happens when you pull two creatures out of the ocean, out of the ground, and three creatures out of the ground, and two of them look similar? Are you actually doing anything relevant? Chapter 5 and 6 together, territoriality, defending a given area, a home range. It's based upon the rules of one. I went over that on Thursday. Today, sociality. Now, if you think about it, if territoriality is based upon the rules of one, then sociality must be based upon the rules of two or more. And as I said, once you have two or more, everything changes. It's no longer about any issues other than the person next to you. Sexual selection then is the third topic. We'll be doing that on tomorrow and Wednesday. And then finally on Thursday, altruism. I've already gone over altruism. That's being nice to competitors, but we'll go over that specifically. Again, if you look, you'll see that there are 9 possible questions. I put checks next to them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have to get rid of one of these, but that gives you a pretty good outline of the exam. All right. On Thursday, when we've gone through all the material, I will actually open it up for any students to ask any questions to cover any material you wish. Okay? Any questions about the basics of that for the moment? Yeah? Okay, so let me now put the screen down and let's go over the practice midterm, which confuses the heck out of students every time. Yes?
5 and 6 are the only ones where it's going to have multiple partners, and the rest of them are just going to be like because you said you combined 5 and 6?
No. Chapter 5 and 6 I combine.
Yeah.
But that's 3 questions from the 2 chapters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So no, the questions are as I've outlined them.
Okay.
I put the chapters there just so people know where we are. Yeah. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Alright, now. So on Saturday, I put up the practice midterm. Now with the practice, that's winter, it's fine. It hasn't changed, this is winter. What I've done here, which endlessly confuses students, let me make it bigger so it's easier for you to see in the back. Go to bigger. Probably go a little bigger, yeah, there you go. Centric. What you have is 8 questions that have all been on midterms before. So looking at this, you can see that question number 1, for example, does follow chapter 1. And what I said the question would be, we've got Darwin's postulates right here, overbrush of offspring, variation that leads to differential ability to survive or reproduce, and heritability of variation. And then you also have 3 steps of a complex invertebrate eye. That is, you're being asked to talk about the various steps that we know occur in nature, and you were given those both in the PowerPoint slides, but you were also given those in the video and in the lecture. But also there's the document video. For those who just came in, one of the things I did last Friday was I got all of the videos uploaded, including all of the videos on monkeys and apes, because you'll need that evidence for the question of chapter 5 and 6, and then all the videos on eyes and finches, which you'll need for the earlier chapters, okay, for chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4. So those are all up. The links are all there. For the videos of apes, I also put up transcripts, so you can look for those easily. Okay, so that covers that right there. Now, question number 2 is a population genetics problem. You can tell because you see a big number. So Mendel only deals with individual cases, right? And so you'll never see something like 1,000 or 10,000. The minute you see a question that has 1,000 or 10,000, you know you're in a population, and you know therefore you're in a population genetics question. And that's the first thing you always look for. We'll talk about this a little later on when I give you some examples. But when doing a word problem, and I know many people hate word problems. I myself am a word problem loather. A word problem loather.
That's a tongue twister.
That's a tongue twister, but it is at least accurate. So I'm not terrible at math, but I'm freaking awful at word problems. The reason is, and I want to point this out because many of you feel the same way, I actually basically failed math through high school. It wasn't until college that I actually got a professor who understood what my problem was, bless you. So let's say you have one of those rate time distance problems. I'd be like, okay, so we're starting in London, going west on a bicycle at 25 miles an hour. Someone else is starting in France, going east in a car at 40 miles an hour. Like, where are they gonna meet? You know, what time? And I'm like, okay, so is it raining in London? Like, I mean, that would slow you down, right? Because just think all the traffic, and then the streets are slick, and your bike wouldn't work as well. And then I'm thinking, France, the French drivers can't drive to save their lives. I'm British, so I'm always down with French for some particular reason. It's fun. And so I'd be like telling myself these massive complex stories about how you have to accelerate and decelerate, you gotta stop for lunch, like what are you gonna eat? If you're French, you have a bottle of wine at lunch, so it slows down your driving, maybe you get in the car. You can see I never actually got to what I was supposed to be doing, which was answering the frickin' math question. So finally, when I got to college, my professor noted that as long as it didn't have a word problem attached to it, I could get through the math just barely. But if there was a word problem, I failed it endlessly. So he pointed out to me, don't read the word. This is what I was always taught. Who was taught this in school? Read it very carefully. Yeah, that was my problem. I was a friggin' English major. This is a story. So he said, whatever you do, don't read the problem. I was like, what do you mean? He said, well, okay, tell me the kinds of problems you have to be able to do on the test. I said, well, you do this kind of problem, so rate time, this. He said, great. So first off, you figure out what kind of problem it is. And then you simply extract the material from the problem you know you have to know. Don't read it. He said, when you read it, you get lost. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So he said, if you know what kind of problem you should expect, you look for what gives you the clue that it's that kind of problem. So, for example, you're reading, consider a local hypothetical. Is it a real population? This is what I'd be doing. Real? Is it not real? So, like, you know, childhood leukemia, God, that's awful. That's like the Children's Hope thing, you know, like that's like Danny Kaye and that wonderful, see, this is what I'm doing. I'm already going into a history of hospitals for childhood leukemia. He said, no, look for what the important information you need to know is. And the first thing you see is 1,000. What kind of problem is that? Pop gen. Is it a Mendel problem? No. So what do you need to know in a pop gen problem? You need to know the total population. You need to know the alleles, A, and lowercase a. Perfect. You need to know the numbers. 600 capital A, 400 capital A, lowercase a. That means there's 0, lowercase a, lowercase a's. Put down the problem, don't read anymore, do the work that you learned in class. Okay? So we'll go over that in just a few minutes when I go over a couple of examples. Notice this is not complete. I'll put this in, look, it's in bold. This answer is incomplete since not all work is shown. I actually put that in the announcement as well so you wouldn't make a mistake. All right? Here's an example of a Mendel problem. How do you know? It's a bunch of words because there's no numbers. So if you start reading some bizarre ass problem, pointy-eared wildcats, what the fuck? Round-eared wildcats? Yeah, but there's no big number, is there? So immediately right away you know it's Mendel. So ignore all the writing, look for what the traits are. Okay, pointy and round-eared. Okay, which one's dominant? Okay, well, round-eared, definitely, pointy-eared, yeah. All pointy ears. Put down the whole thing and just do the problem you know. It's P and R, pointy and round, pointy is dominant. Do a Mendelian problem, answer the question, be done. Now, this may not help everybody, especially people who are already good at math, they're fine with this. But for those who really hate word problems, it actually saved my college career in terms of being able to survive through math exams, because so many questions in math as you go on involve complex sort of statements, right? Anyway, yes, question coming.
What would need to be added to the 2 questions to show complete work?
You already know that, right? Because we went through it endlessly in class. Yeah, so you shouldn't have to ask that question. You just go back into your notes. Now, I will answer it, but I want to point out that you should already know that, right? You should have already been practicing because the midterm is next Monday, your Mendel problems. So in the Mendel problem, what's missing? Well, I'm asking you. So it's chapter 2. So, see, this is week 3. Jesus Christ, it's week 3. God, it's like driving a spike through my head. I think it's the end of week 1
Oh.
or the beginning of week 2. Week 2, thank you. Beginning of week 2. Have it? Chapter 2. I'm not picking on you. This is what it means to be in a summer class and be blitzing through material that is hard for every college student alive. Huh? This is Mendel, exactly, yes. And so what's missing from this? So this is, so I'll leave you alone. I know you're trying to. So this is the problem. All of you are behind. Not her. All of you. Most of you, if I pointed you out, she was grim to ask the question, would be like, I don't fucking know. And that already means your chances of getting a good grade on the midterm are only fair at best. Okay? Because this class is you're going to finish the midterm trying to figure out what the fuck went wrong, and you're going to be in the final. The final is only 2 weeks and 3 days later than the midterm. That's how fast this is going to go. The final is a 12-question, open page. There's no answers for you. It's all blank pages, and it covers the entire course. Right? So, okay, so let me answer your question because you deserve an answer, of course. I just want to point out, not you, but all of us are behind. I'm still behind, I'm teaching it. All right, so what's missing here is all the graphing, all the boxes. So let's do that right now because it's a really great question, and I appreciate the question, I really do. So let's do it. Okay, so one of the things I said was, if this is valuable to you, again, you don't read anything that you can avoid reading. It's always a waste of time on an exam to be reading extra stuff. You know that joke that high school teachers play where like there's this game, even if you've never had it done to you, you've heard of the game. Make a whole exam, at the very end of all the instructions, it says don't answer this exam, just sign your name and turn in, you get full points. Who's heard that joke? Fuckers. Any professor who ever does that to you deserves to be gone.
Why?
Because it's a game. You don't play games with students. Students have lives. Students have issues. Students are fighting to try to make a life. Playing some kind of bullshit game to make sure they read every word, that's just a game. It's wrong. Don't fuck with students.
Yeah.
No, don't support me in that. I don't need that. My point is, you got to think about it. So the question is, how much should you read? Frickin' everything? Great. Start at A and work your way through the encyclopedia. Life is wonderful. No, that isn't the answer. So this professor taught me this. Yes, he was a bit of a revolutionary, a little bit of a rebellion one. Yes, me too now. But he said, first figure out the problem and then only read what you have to. Don't get trapped in the endless cycle of doing all the work. Nobody smart does, right? We know this. You find the key. Who knows that phrase? You find the key to it and you figure it out from that, right? Okay, the key is there a big number? No, no big number. So what are the traits? Pointy and round ears. Okay, pointy and round ears. Okay, what do I have to know? I don't need to read to the end to see if the professor played a trick on me. That's just bullshit. Well, that would be a bullshit if the professor did it. Instead, read what you know to expect because I've been teaching you that. Make sense? Now, I'm either lying or not. If I'm lying, you're fucked. You're in a class you shouldn't be in. If I'm telling the truth, you already know which one's dominant. Pointy ears. Great. So all you do then is go P, R, just so you know what's going on. You do this.
Wow.
P, P, there'll be capital, Y, because pointy's dominant. Lowercase r, da, da, da. Okay, and then you write F0, major points for making sure you keep track of where everything is. Draw a line, write F1. In this case, you either just have memorized, which is much smarter, or you know that it's a particle from each plant, so you get PR. Or each animal, whatever, doesn't matter. You know it's 100% pointy because I already told it to you, so you should write that in because you know you have to. Then you do F2. Okay, once again, you've either memorized this or you remember it's kind of like having 2 plants. So you just cross them, P and R, P and R, P, R, P, R, and you go PP, R, 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 R. And then the last thing I ask you is what are the genotypes? Well, that's the genotypes. So what do I need? The phenotypes. Phenotypes. And it's 3 pointy, 1 round. You could also, if you want to, write genotypes. It's already there, but some professors like this. 1 PP, 2 PR, 1 RR. So that's what's missing, is that. And then, again, that's how you deal with the problem, is know what kind of problem to expect, extract the information you need, do the problem, and walk away. All right? So let's go over the earlier one, because she asked about both, I think. So let's go over that one. I'll put this up on the board for the moment. Let's see here, let's go up to here. All right, and I'll actually do, I'll put the screen down and do the problem over here. All right, so let's erase this. Anybody? Questions on that? All good? Yeah.
Does that say F1 and F2?
F0, F1, F2. Yeah, so 3 generations, yes.
Would it matter at all with the percentages, 75%?
Nope. So this is a great question, gets asked all the time. Do you have to write 3 and 1 and 1, 2 and 1, or can you write 75, 25, 25, 50, 25? Don't care. Another thing that I hate is when professors decide you can only write the answer in one mode. Is it correct to write 75, 25? Tell me, is it correct?
Yeah.
Then how could I ever take points away if you get it right? So again, I'm agnostic. However you want to write it, great for me. Yeah, excellent question. Okay, so once again, for those who hate word problems, again, if you don't, you have no problem with this. So you're looking at a bunch of words. So what the fuck? Okay, so a hypothetical population of 1,000, you're done. It's over. So all you need now is, okay, so what are the fucking math problems I hate? Okay, great. So you've got a population, so you start with that, 1,000. Now that population is going to be F0. That's just the way the problem's worked out. Okay? I told you in class, am I lying? I hope not. It's going to always be big numbers, always rounding out simply. So some kind of hundreds. Okay, great. So 600. All right, 600 or what? Capital A, capital A. I don't care what capital A is. Why would I care? I want an A. So capital A, capital A. So it's going to be A. What's the other allele, I wonder? Lowercase a. Okay, great. The very fact that I put them in that order, unless I'm tricking you, means capital A is dominant, because that's just a convention. Okay? So I've got 600. Let's see here, 600, or capital A, capital A. Okay, now I'm looking for capital A, lowercase a. Okay, that's going to be 400. Now I know that's what I was expecting because I was told that the recessive, homozygous recessive would be actually dead. Perfect. I drop it, and then I just put everything down. Just dump the whole thing. It's done. That's 0.6, 0.4, 0, 1.0. I next write F0 gametes. Okay, I know I need to split the population into capital A and lowercase a. So I take the capital A. It doesn't matter that I ask here, what is the frequency of lowercase a? Just do the problem as you've been taught it. So I do capital A first, equals all of them, 0.6 plus 1/2 of the heterozygotes, 1/2 times 0.4 equals 0.8. Then I do the lowercase, frequency of lowercase a equals 0, always put it in, again, plus 1/2 times the heterozygote, the other half, times 0.4 equals 0.2. That's 1.0, they add up, okay? Then I go to the next one, I go to F1. Remember, in populations, it's 2 generations only. In Mendel, it's 3. So now I have to start over again. I need to put this back together. So I have frequency of capital A, frequency of capital A, lowercase a, and frequency of lowercase a equals. I've got here 0.8 times 0.8. I've got 0.2 times 0.2. And I've got 2 times 0.8 times 0.2. Now, this problem actually appeared, I believe, on the winter 2026 exam exactly. And even though I've warned students over and over and over again, don't multiply it out. Half the students who multiplied it out gave me 0.4, which means they lost 4 points. So I say, don't multiply them out. These are called expressions. Am I correct, my math people? These are called expressions. If the expression is correct, it's the answer. You don't have to put in, this right here. Okay? And then the last question, of course, that I taught you is the original population in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Remember, equilibrium is balance. That means stabilizing selection. The minute you see a 0, it cannot be, so the answer is no. Okay? So that's what's missing from this. You're missing the actual graphing out of the problem with with everything, including the F0 population. Okay? And I hope that gives you a sense of then how to look at the questions. And we're going to actually do the questions from the text today as well, so you really have a handle on this. Because I know ever since I've been teaching this more thoroughly, students have gotten better and better answers on this. They're more likely to get full points, and so that's awesome. Okay, so then that covers question 1, question 2, question 3, and those are chapters 1, 3, 2, or 1, 2, 3 if you will. Okay. Question number 4, I thought about putting this on the exam, it's don't. So there will be no question from number 4's topic. I will not ask you for the trace of primates, okay? The only people that should make unhappy are my biology majors, who love phylogenies and trait examinations, but everybody else will probably be happy, I hope. Okay, number 5. This is, the minute you see groups and solitary, what is this talking about? Nope.
No.
Groups. Nope. Groups. There. Group means sociality. Group means many of you. Okay, so that's the thing. You got to really pay attention. Okay. So this is a sociality question. We haven't gotten to it yet. But this will be an example. And I'm telling you what it is now, so when you review the practice midterm, you don't get confused. The minute you see groups, it's a sociality question. Okay? All right? So that's the sociality question. It includes the complete answers. Okay, you can see that from the question. You get the name, the explanation, and the data. And that's typical of these kinds of questions. Name, explain, provide evidence, okay? Next comes the biological species concept, the ecological species concept, the explanation of the ecological species concept, and allopathic speciation. Once again, it's a complete answer. All right? Now, there's your territorial question. Yes?
So a question like number 5 that goes on the final.
Oh yes, it may well go to the final. Yeah.
We've just got it all out, right? If you didn't give us, because you said I was going to get blank page on the final.
Yeah, so what you're going to get, maybe that's a very good question. Maybe I'm being confusing. What you're going to get on the midterm is the question, right? This. Yeah. You won't get any of this.
Oh, God.
So you have to figure out what to write out. But yes, so this is the question, and these are the answers. What you're going to get is the question and no answers. But what I've given you in the practice midterm are all the answers to at least some of the questions. Right? You have complete answers. Right? Good question. Number 6, that one. Okay. Number 7, that's territoriality. And then number 8 is central selection. And we'll get to all of this. We're doing questions number 8, a little bit of 7, and 6 this week. Okay? But at least you now know that is definitely a sociology question. You know this one is, these are all prepping you for, okay? And once again, these are all complete answers. They're complete answers, yes.
So you need to do that for something?
Well, here it is right here. So, right there's from the social climbers video.
Yeah, so are we allowed to like have a paper with our data on it, or are we expected to have that?
So, yeah, you have to just know it, what it is. That's kind of why I gave you this instead, so that you would learn to memorize. So at university, I noticed another thing, it just doesn't really happen. You just don't get to bring in material. You have to do it in the class. When you guys do the GRE, or the MCAT, or the LSAT, you have to memorize shit. You have to just hardcore memorization. So I'm trying to prep you for upper division class at university, and I'm trying to prep you for going on to do more than just sort of get an AA. Best I can. Right? Okay. And then there's one question which I have not put on the practice midterm, of course, is the algebra question. So once again, stop it. Once again, the only questions that aren't complete answers are question number 2 and 3. They give you the answers, but it's not the complete work. Yes?
I had a question about 3E. They mentioned that F1 generation
Which one?
It said F1 generation, all members of generation PR. So where does the recessive P come from?
Okay, so there's a number of students who learn this, which is legitimately correctly, this way. All right. So thank you for that great question. One of the things that I can easily do is confuse students without meaning to. And that's literally confusing students without meaning to. All right, I don't recommend using P. But this is a shout out to the students who only learn these problems with one letter, uppercase, lowercase. So you could rerun the whole problem. God, I hate to do it in P's. Let's do it in A. So capital A is pointy, lowercase a is round, in which case it would be capital A, lowercase a. It would then be capital A, lowercase a, and that's where I put the capital P, lowercase p. Again, if you want to do it in the traditional way and picking a letter and using uppercase and lowercase, you're welcome to. I actually had a student do this one time. This was about 5 years ago. I loved it. This is what she did. I've never forgotten this. And if you want to do this, it's awesome. So here's what she did. She did P. So she went capital P, and then you see how it goes with the line when you were in elementary school. Remember when you learned to write your letters uppercase above the line, lowercase at the line? Remember that whole thing? Yeah. So she did this. That worked. So she basically did that with lines. Made me happy. I could tell what she was talking about. So whatever works for you. And that was the intention of that. So is that clear to everybody? Because it's a great question. I do not mean to cause confusion. Make sense?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Other questions? Yeah.
You'd be able to tell if we just wrote the lowercase p smaller than the uppercase, right?
Until students get stressed out and make mistakes.
Okay.
So whatever you do, if it's clear to me, I'm fine. But if it becomes unclear to me, then you end up in point trouble, right? That's the only problem. That's all. So again, that's all. That is literally what this is about. Just please make sure it's clear, however you do it, okay? Yeah, fair enough? That's all that matters. Other questions? Okay, so now that covers all of that. And let's put this on mute and put this up again. Okay, once again, you came in late. Here's the questions. This is the questions that I'm going to ask on the exam, -1. If you came in late, these are the 9 questions that I'm working with. I have to dump one of the questions. But that's the questions that will be on the exam. Notice, you have a practice midterm question on this, on this, on this, on this, on this, on this, you've got a bunch of the questions modeled, and remember what I said, at least 3 of the questions will be from the practice midterm. So at least 3 of these will actually be directly off the practice midterm paper. Yes, go ahead.
You said you finished up the traits of monkeys and
That's question number 4 in the practice midterm is gone. And notice it's not up here. Yeah. Yes, I saw another hand. No? Yeah, that's gone. But you don't see it up here, so it's correct. Yeah. Any other questions? Anything else? Alright, so that's it. Stuff I think that gets you started. And again, I just want to point out, you've got to start studying now. Now, I don't mean like, I must devote 2 hours to studying tonight. I just mean, start taking a look at, yeah.
Sorry, can you go over the definitions of genotype and phenotype again?
Absolutely.
No,
Okay, so phenotype is what you see.
this is not,
The treatment shown.
It's a description. Just think, in phenotype, you describe what somebody looks like. In genotype, you put the particles that make up what they look like. So this is a genotype, PNR. But as a phenotype, it comes out pointy. So this is genes. This is trait. Make sense? Perfect. Okay. Great question. So it's not that you have to dedicate 2 hours of studying every night. It's more you just got to make sure you're looking like what you were doing. Just look through your material. That's why you take notes. Look through your notes. Get familiar with the material. Just keep looking through it. Maybe practice a little bit here and there, whatever you have to do. And then what I used to do when I got stuff like this is I would simply, nowadays it's easy because you could just take from your PDF, you can just make it up, to change how you want to. But I would literally take pieces of paper and cover all the answers and then just do the exam. Make sense? I would just take the exam so I couldn't see the answer so I get it right. So that's another way to practice too, just practice over and over again. Students, because in my asynchronous classes, I asked them about different means of studying. So one of the questions I asked for the first discussion in an async class was, what are some of your study hacks? And a couple of students pointed out that there are free, I don't know if you've given your email, but they're free sites whereby you can have them build study guides for you, including flashcards. So again, I don't know the sites, I've never used them. I study myself, but I study very differently.
Or you can just use AI. Give you a
Well,
study
so,
question.
got that?
Google Notebook and all that.
Yeah, Google Notebook LM was one of the ones mentioned that actually is set up for this. Your point also, you could actually use ChatGPT, Claude, Google AI, anything else you want to actually build you a study guide and flashcards. So yeah, there's all kinds of ways that actually you could just have it make stuff for you. You could even design ways to study. So you give it the material, what you need to know, you put in these questions and the answers, because again, these are all, since they're all in a document, you can just dump the answers into any AI you want to and have it build study guides for you. Flashcards, there's many ways to make flashcards now. So, and those are always good. Flashcards are great because you do it while you're floating around doing bullshit, right? So, and I don't mean like bad thing, I just mean you're busy like making dinner, you have flashcards. Like that. So whatever can work for you to help you, please do so. There's lots of ways out there now that can make studying a little bit easier than it used to be. Okay? I hope that helps. That was the goal of this, is to really help. Again, just for those who came in late, in the announcements are now the practice midterm, my office hours, the videos on the eyes and finches, and the videos on the monkeys and apes, along with transcripts. Okay? So that should help for anybody who needs stuff. Don't forget, under files is the PowerPoints. And that's a big deal too, because you can obviously use this as part of your study. Okay. Okay. I think I got you started. Really good time-wise, not too bad. Campus. Go back to campus. It was not campus. Campus at all. I wanted.
Monkey see, monkey don't do.
Thank you. Exactly. All right, here we go. Hopefully we'll bring, good, love it. Okay, so. Remember, because again, and I appreciate the students who told me yesterday, oh my God, professors are depressingly stupid. Last Thursday, that I have done a good job of explaining, I do want to mention again that territoriality and sociality deeply overlap. You're going to use data from the films for both questions that are the same data. Taking marmoset data, for example, can be used both for territoriality and sociality. However, the rules of territoriality are based on one old guy on a porch with a shotgun. The rules of sociality are based on two or more. And again, if you're territorial, the problem is just you and the environment. But if you're social, the entire problem is all the other fuckers out there are getting in your way. Okay? Okay, so we've done territoriality. We did the whole dimorphism thing. We're off to sociality. First, are there groups? This was vastly debated. And I don't think I got to this. If I did, I'm sorry for repeating myself, but at least it'll help you, the distinction between a guy on a porch with a shotgun and this. So on a Saturday in June, it's a nice day, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you're on the corner of Hollywood and Highland. Okay, what's Hollywood and Highland? Okay, so it's got all the stars, both like all over the place, of all the people that nobody's ever heard of, from radio, television, you name it. And so you've got a bunch of tourists from like Iowa and from France, all taking pictures. Like, what the fuck are they taking a picture of? Who ever heard of that person? And then right down the street, you've got the Mann's Grumman Chinese theater with all the handprints and the footprints. You've got tourists putting their hands in the footprints, and they're putting their feet in the handprints. And then you've got the big mall right there with Sephora and Cheesecake Factory, and I don't know why, no Cheesecake Factory, Sephora, whatever. Then you've got the Kodak Theater down the road, and everyone's lining up for the latest Prince concert, but he's dead. That's the last concert I saw there. Then you got Ripley's Believe It or Fucking Not across the street. There's a Burger King somewhere. There's a bunch of weird stores floating along. The weirdest of all are the superheroes, whose costumes are a little bit
Iffy.
Yeah, especially the superhero costumes with rips in the seams makes me a little bit nervous. And they're showing off to the people in line in theater who either have gotten their tickets and are in line for the theater, or actually haven't gotten their tickets, are in line to get their tickets, which is very confusing. And you're standing, and the bowling alley that serves alcohol right up the street. Woo! So what the question is that a group? No, it is not. Because there are no complex, long-lasting relationships at all. Everybody is just there for themselves. The people in line won't know each other tomorrow. The superheroes don't know anybody. I'm not even sure what they are. The people with their hands on the footprints they're not there tomorrow. The people taking pictures, who gives a shit? Like, all of these people are there milling around, but they're not a group in any sense, because you must, to be a real social group, you must have multi-part. It can't be like just kin. Multi-part, multi-relational, complex relationships over long periods of time. That's simply the rule of being social. Cows are minimally social. Why minimally? They do have long-term relationships, but complex? No. Dolphins, much more complex. Smaller groups, though. Octopuses are very weird. People are wondering about them. Cetaceans, though, have complex relationships. Elephants appear to have more than just kin relations. So they may qualify. Absolutely many primates groups do. Baboons especially. The geladas you saw, vervets, macaques, bonobos. Don't even talk about bonobos. It's a joke. Just go talk to Gil. I don't want to talk about fucking bonobos. Chimpanzees, you name it. These are long-lasting, complex groups with things like deep sense of kin relations, friends, I mean real friends, but then also allies, who might be both allies and friends, and then enemies, and then friggin' frenemies. I mean, it gets weird how complex and structured all these different interracial relationships are among chimps and bonobos and macaques and baboons and so on and so forth. So once Jane Goodall goes out, the answer is, and she spends decades working with these creatures, yes, they have very complex social relationships, yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, if there's a bunch of different species of animals, and like let's say they're all on a watering hole,
That is not a group.
that's not a group.
Nope. But the Tri-Forest monkeys are. So the thing about the water hole is what you would call a habitat.
Yeah.
Or an ecosystem. It's a total set of conditions. Water, plants, seasonality, lions, water buffalo, you name it. It's a total ecosystem, but it's not a social group because they don't have long-lasting, complex relationships. You could say predator and prey, but we're trying to stick, and this is a really good question, within one species unless we have a clear example of a confluence of interest or a conflation of interests, where you've got a number of different species all creating complex relationships around some particular alliance. And that becomes interesting. So you could say humans and their domesticated animals are part of a larger social system. Yeah. All right, so animals are mostly solitary. When you look at the entire animal kingdom, most animals are solitary, the largest group being a parent and offspring. Among mammals, it's almost always a mother and offspring because of the whole internal fertilization and nursing thing. Mammals do feature more sociality than animals in general do, but it's primates where sociality goes really crazy. Now, one of the things I left out is the social insects, I'm aware. I said most animals. The social insects, like primates, are fantastically social. All right? As for that, is grouping a good or bad thing? Well, of course, you're living in a group system, so you're like, yeah, it's a good thing. Here's the thing. Then how come almost all animals are solitary? If it's such a great thing, you'd see it a lot more often. You don't. So, huh? Well, we'll get to that. Good for you for getting one of them. All right, so what are the costs of being social? I did this deliberately. I know it's a little bit ugh, but that's the whole point. One of that is a handprint. One of the big costs of being social is violence. Chimps are the most extraordinarily violent creature among the primates, physically violent. You saw Grappelli being killed, remember? The video. For no reason. In fact, remember what I argued? It may well be overcrowding. And by the way, if you want to study this among humans, there are some very great, extraordinary stories out there of how it is that, I'm sorry to say, it's gangs of young men. It's what it is. Gangs of young men in sort of overcrowded, under-resourced circumstances with lack of opportunities do some really fucked up shit. And it doesn't seem to have much logic other than these are bored, highly hormone-drenched males who do terrible things, like for no apparent reason beat the fuck up out of homeless people. It's really a tragedy. And we are not a violent species. We're a but we are an extraordinarily peaceful species. You know what we specialize in? Symbolic violence. I mentioned this before. We are a highly symbolically violent species. It used to be believed that people living in small-scale societies, hunter-gatherer groups, were really peaceful and really nice to each other. Until somebody went back, by the way, I highly recommend Steven Pinker's book on this, with I said it before, an incredible data set on every bit of data available historically on groups around the world. We discovered that, in fact, in even the most peaceful small-scale societies, the amount of physical violence equals the violence of inner cities in the worst decades in American history and in world history. And then on top of that, the level of striving and climbing on the backs of other people, not literally but symbolically, status, power, the drive to essentially push others down so you can push yourself up is a human universal. So fascinating. So when I say violence, I also include the idea of symbolic violence as a massive human problem. What is Elon Musk anyway? He is a genius. But what is his whole thing with pushing other people down? Why do billionaires automatically begin to spend as much money as they can, making sure they don't pay taxes? Didn't they benefit from living in a country? Many of them earn their billions by working in a country that only works because people pay taxes and keep the system going, yet they don't have to and shouldn't have to? That's called symbolic violence. They're stealing. They're stealing food from their own employees' mouth. Quite fascinating. Disease. Holy shit, he shut down the globe for 2 years. Actually, it was closer to 3, wasn't it? March 2020. March 16th. Why do I know that date? We were just about to host a huge gymnastics meet at the gym where I was the head coach and one of the directors. We were going to be hosting about 1,800 kids over 3 days. This was the week before that meet. That was one of the weirdest moments ever. The world just shut down. China, holy fuck, China made terrible mistakes. They literally locked people in their apartments for 3 years. Man, that turned into a nightmare. That was a major problem for China. But they did anyway. So that just tells you, like, disease is extraordinary. And why this? Why so yelling? Well, when you're an animal, where do most diseases come from? The person next to you. Because you breathe. They breathe out, you breathe in, it's over. And so one of the things is plants don't struggle with this. And then on top of that, what is the disease that COVID? What is it? It's a species jumper. So species jumping diseases are a huge problem. Pigs, birds, avian flus, cows, and then for the first time that we are aware of in the immediate past, bats. And then of course, what's the ultimate? What literally went back and forth between Europe and Asia and wiped out, the latest estimates are 1/3 of the European population. Rats. Rats and was that what it was?
Fleas, I think.
Fleas, yes. Yeah, so I thought you said bees. I was like, bees? That's and the new data? Damn, I gotta keep up with this shit. Yeah, rats and fleas. Huh? Yeah, exactly. So it was a cycle. So when you think about that, you realize that disease is really one of the big costs of actually being alive and being a group. Yes. You're the damn bio major, you tell me. I can barely keep up with the chimpanzees. Great question. I would assume that some diseases are multi-species and aren't species hoppers. So, for example, the thing about, HIV, for example, simian immunovirus was a problem already. The fact that it jumped to humans and was so virulent was a major rarity. So most diseases that hop species actually really struggle. So COVID is not, I know it was deadly, I'm not diminishing it, but it wasn't as deadly as it could have been because in hopping from one species to another, you tend to not be virulent as you might well be if you're native to the species. So I don't know how rabies works, but I know it's a terrible disease. It may be a multi-species as opposed to a species hopper. Great question. But then, of course, you did nail it. The ultimate is resource competition. This is the ultimate problem for all social species. It's extraordinary. So first off, I just want to give you a bunch of examples because this is so clearly the human problem. It's extraordinary. First off, so to make sure you understand the history, and again, there's lots of history that I don't know. I'm not trying to champion European history, but that's what I know. So I know some of it very well. Okay, so you have the robber barons in the late 19th century and early 20th century, right? They were the equivalent of today's, well, we've got a trillionaire. We have a friggin' trillionaire of today's multi-billionaires and trillionaires. They were adamant that it was their right and a kind of almost manifest destiny for them to actually keep their workers in extreme poverty. Now, by the way, I want to point out Charles Dickens, one of the great writers, put this in A Christmas Carol. You've all seen or heard of A Christmas Carol, right? Please, God, tell me yes. Okay. When a friend of Scrooge talks to him about why he allowed people to be treated so poorly, he says, don't they have workhouses? Don't they have prisons? And he's a Calvinist, he's a Puritan. And the Puritans believed that prosperity was God-given. It's part of the American and part of the European basis for the idea of inequality. That if God favored you, you got rich, but you didn't give it away. Because if God didn't favor me and I didn't get rich, that means I was damned. My goddamn fault. It's not the fault of Scrooge. God has blessed him with lots of money. Okay? So the robber barons had the same idea. Look, we got rich, and we're making the world a better place. The people who are working for us deserve nothing. All right? So, in 1917, in Russia, what happens? Socialism. Fuck it. Communist revolution. If that had not happened, we would not have the 20th century. We should thank those fucking communist revolutionaries. Let me tell you. I'll tell you why. This is a well-established story. You go look at it. Marx, in the middle of the 19th century, was a friggin' mess. The middle of the 19th century was one of the greatest turmoils in European history because people were starting to get a little bit unhappy with the fact that rulers seemed to really want to grind the peasants into the dust. Grind the workers, everybody into the dust. So Marx becomes a big deal. And the robber barons at the end of the 19th century, the beginning of the 20th century, they were happy to grind the workers into an industrial dust. Children working to death, pregnant females working to death, workplace injuries, killing pregnant females, killing children, terrible diseases brought on by the kinds of pollution and kinds of working conditions. They didn't care about it. The absolute poverty, people were unable to have enough food to eat no matter how many hours they worked. Nobody gave a shit. It was fine. So, but then the union movements began. The union movements would have never gotten anywhere except for 1917 October. And the robber barons went, allow unions or die at the point of a gun. What do they decide? We'll take the unions. Oh, we will do our very best to break them. We'll use every bit of our political leverage, every cheap-ass gang we can find who we can hire to actually commit violence against the union members and especially the union leaders. We'll do anything it takes, but we'll accept the unions and we'll accept FDR's total fuck-up social welfare bullshit, because if we don't, what could happen? And everybody was thinking about October 1917, where an entire vast nation simply was taken over by peasants. This brings you to an update. I told you before, there's a billionaire podcast. It's actually out there, it's great. And there was a billionaire on the podcast, 1.6 billion, who to the billionaires in the room said, you know what? We really have to start giving away more of our income. We have to, he actually puts it, we have to more fairly distribute the extraordinary wealth we have acquired over the past 30 years. Why? Because people are eventually going to come to us with guns. We're better off giving away some of the wealth we've acquired and living than keeping on taking more and more. Here's another story. These are all true. You can all look them up yourself. You find them, because I'm fascinated by this. Okay, so prior to World War II, in the United States and most of Europe, nobody went to college except the elites. The elites only went to university, and this is basically true across the European continent and in America too early on, especially in the Northeast. The elites went to university for only one reason. They were going to rule. And to rule, they need to know a lot of shit. Now, that means I'm German, I'm France, I'm England, I'm Spain. How do I successfully manipulate, control, outcompete the country next door? Spain, Germany, whatever, right? I have to know a lot of shit, don't I? Or I'm going to be sunk in my country. Make sense? So it's not about them being nice to people. Education was literally their path to being a political operator. Nobody else went to college because why? How long does it take to be a manager at Starbucks, training-wise? Well, give me a fucking time. Come on, you can do it. Yeah, 2 weeks to a month. Isn't it funny? Almost all training programs last about a month, which is exactly how long rehab programs last, which is exactly how long, if you're going to build an exercise program and you're not going to quit, that's how long you have to do it. If you're going to quit smoking, you need to quit for about a month to 6 weeks. Isn't it interesting that you can train pretty much anything into a human in about maybe 6 weeks max? So how come you cannot get a job in middle management anywhere in the United States without getting a 4-year degree, taking 0 classes that are of any use for your job? By the way, you're like, oh, but we're working with computers. How long does it take to use Excel well enough to be able to do a job? 2 weeks. Then you got to pick up maybe a few word tricks, some macros, right? Got to be able to run with, maybe you got to do a PowerPoint deck, got to learn something about producing decks, and you got to learn a bit about this program and that program. 6 weeks. Okay, so what the fuck is the 4 to 5 years about? Well, here's what happened. It's a really fascinating story. The GI Bill happened. The GI Bill, so coming back from World War II, you got a massive problem. You've got, first off, women working in the factories. You've got men coming back by the millions. You've got to displace all of them from the factories. And then you got to figure out what you're going to do with all these fucking men, because you don't need that many jobs, because even though we came back to a boom, the boom is an instant. So one of the things they offered as a way of kind of like building a transition system is they offered the GI Bill. Everybody goes to school free. And so they did. Wait, stick with the story. That doesn't matter. So all of a sudden, everyone's going to college, and so companies are now thinking, all right, so I need to parse people coming from the world who show up at my door and give me an application. Now it's totally changed the last 5 years, so you have to stick back to maybe 10 to 15 years ago. How do I parse these applications? All right, so let me think. Basically, I can hire my factory floor workers. We were an industrial economy, right? Not much service. How do I hire my factory floor workers? Just take them right out of friggin' high school, out of the Army. They got lots of skills they've learned, right? In trades, in the Army, you learn all kinds of great skills. Remember, in the Army, what are all those jobs? They're all basically manufacturing. Military is about manufacturing. Okay, so that's no problem. How do I handle the secretaries? Great, we got millions of them. The women who are working in the factories, hire them as secretaries. They can all read and write and type. Great, no problem. Okay, so I got that problem. What about all the middle part of the company above? Where do I hire them from? Well, I don't know. Who has the skills? Well, I don't know. But I'll tell you what, if you sit in college for 4 years in classes and fucking nod your head, that's a pretty good start to middle management, isn't it? Because the uncooperative jerk-off assholes who might be going to a factory floor are not great in an open workplace where jerk-off, difficult assholes are going to fuck up the whole system, right? Next, these people have been willing to spend nights not working, getting ready for midterms, not sleeping, excuse me, getting ready for midterms and finals, writing papers for total bullshit reasons that no one gives a shit about. What do you do in middle management? Work on projects, write papers, get ready for this, do that, all this project shit, right? And these fuckers, these dumbass fuckers, they've been uncomplainingly doing all kinds of crazy work for no purpose, staying up nights on end trying to get ready for some stupid ass exam, and they've put up with it. And at the end, they come out with an A? Damn. These are the kind of compliant, sort of like willing to bend over and take it people we need. And so companies very quickly learn, hire college graduates. They're already prepped for their work life when it comes to middle management above. That's why everybody has to go to college, even though you were dead right from the beginning. This is why, 50, 60 million people are sitting in classrooms, maybe not now, summer, from fall to spring, sitting there going, yes, I have to nod along. Yeah, maybe I'll take notes. I got AI, fuck you. This is why you hate school, even if you like some of the classes. You're right to hate school. It's bullshit. Now, I love doing this. I care about it. So I don't think I'm doing bullshit, but I'm doing bullshit. Why? Because the one of you who's an anthro major, or the wacko biologists who love this, whatever, you're stuck being a wacko, it's the way life is. I'm a fucking wacko. Wackos are okay. We're okay, right? The fact is that most of you are here so you can get a friggin' job, right? A decent job, right? Right. So then, what is this class for? It's bullshit. It's a rite of passage. It's a ritual process that is designed to make you suffer and designed to present you as somebody who will continue to suffer in your middle class, stupid ass, life-destroying job. Anybody see Office Space?
Yeah.
Ah, my friend in the back there. So you can be in Office Space for the rest of your life. Or, who's seen the TV show The Office? So you can live in the office for the rest of your life. Say it?
Academic weekend.
I didn't say it. Okay, so now I did that because everybody thinks it's resource, that's about some species out there. No, it's the real deal. That's why you were so right. This is it. This is the drive, apparently, that is driving all of us mad. And by the way, our jobs all going out of country?
Huh?
Yeah? Our jobs are all leaving our country. You know where they went to? China, right? And we fucking hate China now, right? Do you know what the outsourcing of total capitalism to the globe did for China? It raised 2 to 300 million people out of poverty into a middle class life.
Nice.
Yes. How come the workers of the world don't feel sympathy for the fact that a bunch of middle class good for nothings in America lost their job, but the entire US population worth in China got a middle class life? Isn't it interesting? That's why we elected Trump, by the way. Bless you. Trump isn't a thing, he's a symptom. Bless you. He's a symptom of a world collapsing. Because all the anti-immigrant stuff, what are they stealing?
Jobs.
Are they really? No, we know that now. There's a bunch of data, actually, it's out there. Go look at it yourself. It shows that actually immigrants actually benefit the country they immigrate into. But we can't see that. Because we're deep into a slow crash of the American hegemony, the American power structure that's run the globe for the past, since 1945. And so when I say this is everything, I mean literally our political system is all based on this. Trump was not elected because anybody loves Trump. There are 20 million people who love Trump. Great, no problem, I don't care. That wasn't what voted him in. What voted him in was the other 40 million people. 60 million. So interesting. Then last, prey profile. Prey profile. Now this is not really true for humans, but it is true. You asked about watering holes. Okay, so where do you find the lions?
Waiting for people at the watering hole?
So the thing is, if a whole bunch of cows stay together to protect themselves against lions, what's the only disadvantage of that?
You know where the cows are.
I think everyone just said you know where to go, right?
Yeah.
You know where to go. Look for the big herd of cows. So prey profile is also a problem of being social. It's very hard for a lion to find you if there's one every 3 miles. The lion's got to work hard then. But if you all end up in a big clump, the lion knows where to go. Actually, the reason why this is not why I make it last is because that prey profile is also protection for the animal. Well, we're going to talk about that, not about flamingos. We're going to talk about that. Okay, so, but what about that? Well, it turns out the big benefit of being social for many species, not for us, well, actually, kind of for us too. We'll get there. The big benefit of being social for many species is protection from predation.
The monkeys.
Oh yeah, this is a Triforce. So exactly, this is it right there. Very nice. So yeah, again, so I'm trying to provide you data. Exactly, this is one of the data right here. Data points. So the Triforce monkeys are multiple species. They've got these vocabularies. And remember, the whole point of knowing each other's alarm calls, you have to actually learn vocabulary, is in order to detect predators. Okay? So that was perfect. You put that in right the right spot. So being aware of a predator is half the battle. Leopards, for example, you saw this in the film, are ambush predators. They much prefer to not have you know that they're there. Okay? Second, deterrence. You're going to see a video on this coming up. It's going to be tomorrow. It's going to be part of your data. It'll be the first thing I show tomorrow. So the idea is that given sufficient numbers, you might actually hold off an attack. Now, among humans, this is the bully rule. Everyone knows the bully rule. How do you deal with a bully? Set?
We beat them up too.
Yeah, but how do you beat? Well, I've never actually been in the circumstance where you beat up the bully, but one thing you do is, yeah, I've never seen that. But you're close. Group.
Your friends.
Yes, literally. So when you walk by the bully in a group of 6, you're safer because the bully has to go, I don't know.
I'm not gonna fight 6 people.
There. So I've never seen it turn to the actual fight, although I did fight Kevin Theobald. That actually slipped out because that's still in my brain from when I was young, when he bullied me. I finally beat the fuck out of him. Excuse me, I didn't do that. I am not a violent person. It was the only time I ever got in a fight in my entire life. See, there you go. So one way to do it, though, is to build a group, and then you could actually fight them. You guys are both correct. All right? And then, of course, here's another one. This is another reason for the bully rule, is that if you're in a group of 10, you're not likely to be the one that's picked. This is called dilution. So it's really simple. If there's one of you, I'm sorry. If there's a leopard in the room and there's one of me, I'm dead. A 30-pound pit bull can eat me and will. A 100, 200-pound leopard, I'm gone. Yes?
It makes me think of the monkeys where they figured out the best line to be around is the one that's already fed.
Yeah. That's also the starting thing, which is hilarious. Okay, so the thing is, here's the basic rule without all the complexities. 2, only 50% chance of dying. You know that old thing about just have to be faster than the other person?
Yeah.
I say kick them in the nuts and walk away slowly.
Oh.
It's a bit of a joke there. So you get the idea. 50%. 3, 33. 100, 1. Correct. Thank you. 1%. So yes, if you're the larger the group you're in, the more likely you are to not be eaten. And you see a really weird thing. So let's say you're the lion today, and I'm a bunch of creatures that is confronting you. You'll see them peeling away and running around in the back. There's this peeling away thing. It's really weird. You'll see it tomorrow on the video. what they're doing, not the lions, the prey animals.
Oh.
So they'll confront and run away, and confront, they keep pushing from the back. And it makes this turnover thing where the ones in front aren't actually any more in danger than anybody else.
It's dilution.
That's dilution, yeah, numbers. Okay. So this is one way that we argue, hey, it's great to be in a group. And we saw the Type Force monkeys for this, right? You're gonna see the video tomorrow for this. Here we go. Next one though, and this is where all of my students get messed up, is there's another resource argument. And this is a tough one, okay? So let's go to that. Now, this is where I want desperately for you to hang with me, and I did start this, I almost said yesterday again, last Thursday. If I have a $100 bill, everybody knows that's valuable, it's scarce, and it's clumped. They're all in the friggin' bank. But it's of no use to us as a group. I didn't count you last week, right? Remember? It was like 30 some of you. And a $100 bill for 30 people is $3 a piece. And as I pointed out, you can't even buy a coffee. You can't buy a large coffee at Starbucks for less than $3.25. So, here's the difference. In territoriality, based upon the old man on his porch and a shotgun, resources must be scarce, clumped, and valuable. His little home, it's valuable, $100,000, $10,000. It's scarce, he's only got one, and his resources are all clumped right behind him, behind the porch in the house. But 100 people, they're not going to want his home, right? So that's scarce, clumped, valuable. Territoriality. Sociality in sufficient quantity to feed the group. Bank robber rule. Bank robber rule. Remember, I started with the pygmy marmosets, remember? I asked you, is it better to be a bank owner or a bank robber? So I set you up for this. Here we go. Ready? I have decided I am going to rob a bank, excuse the technical terms, in bumfuck nowhere, northern Nevada. Barely even paved roads. I'm going to rob some little quickie corner mart in the middle of nowhere. No towns anywhere around. How many people do I have in my gang? Oh my God, really? You guys aren't ready to rob banks? Come on, the world's tough.
Wait, not a lot, I meant.
How many specifically? Thank God you guys said one. I was about to cry in sheer despair. One! You're gonna get $50 into 10 Red Bulls. You need the Red Bulls to keep driving all night long because you're gonna be chased by the cops, right?
You can't really split that.
You can't split it. Literally, one. Okay, we're doing better. We got it. We're gonna roll here. Okay, so now, pardon the technical terms, I'm going to rob a bank in bumfuck nowhere, northern Nevada, where there's barely even paved roads. Population 500 people. Bank. How many people in my gang? Can't do it. You can't ever rob a bank with one.
Oh.
Too many. Two. You in the bank, guy in the car. Gotta have somebody in the car because the car's gotta be ready. So, two. Why? We're gonna get, what, $10,000? And no Red Bulls. Better stop and get some Red Bulls before you go to the bank because they're gonna be driving all night long. You get the idea. Okay, next. Boom. I'm going to rob a B of A.
What's the
Bank of America.
Oh.
Bank of America, and believe me, with my history of Bank of America, I'm picking them first. Who would do Citibank first? Because they're your bank. Who? Wells Fargo. Come on, Wells Fargo. Tell me somebody wants to rob Wells Fargo. They screwed over everybody on earth. I'm always happy being a B of A because I figure, hey, we're only number 2 or 3 in the screw everyone over. We're not first. That goes to Citibank into Wells Fargo. So we're going to rob a B of A in Riverside, California. Population 10,000, 100,000. How many people in my gang?
5.
Yeah, 4 or 5. Because I'm figuring a couple $100,000, maybe $500,000, maybe more. And I got to be pretty clever. I need 3 guys in, or persons in the bank. Couple out, 1 watch out, 1 a car person, maybe a technical guy, who knows? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, now, so you're getting the idea. All right, now, ready? We're gonna rob 3 casinos in downtown Las Vegas?
Oh, I do.
11 or 12 or you guys don't actually know your movies? Guys, go home, get out of school, watch some film. 13. Now, however, I have discovered that women are apparently better at this than we men are. So if women were going to rob 3 casinos down in Vegas, apparently they only need, oh my God, you guys, that's silly.
10.
Ocean's 8? Really? Thank you. Why did you say so?
I'm just
He's getting ready for
Come
what?
on, let him nod his head.
He's getting ready for the what?
Thank you for nodding. He got the joke from earlier. He gets the joke win from earlier on. I'm just nodding my head. Yeah, got it.
practicing for a corporate event.
Oh! That was friggin' brilliant. Good for you. So the idea is, I try to make it entertaining because I want it in your head. The key here is, for the group to be viable, for it to work, you've got to be able to figure out exactly how much reward that you're looking at if you're going to be willing to be in a group. If you can't manage the reward, then you cannot work with the group. It doesn't work at all. Does that make sense? You've got to be able to calculate. Now, who's noticed that in their friendship circles, this is just a basic part of understanding friendship groups or any kind of group or any kind of work system? Am I getting enough reward? You know, yeah, of course. This is part of life. Like, you pay attention to how rewards are given out in your little circle, whether that circle is right. You always do. You never let yourself get shafted, do you? Well, you try not to, right? So that's this right here. Okay. All right. So what Random said was, look, I've got great proof, and this is a proof you'll use in the exam. Okay. Vervet monkeys, he said, larger groups of vervet monkeys have larger, better resourced territories. Larger groups of vervet monkeys have larger, better resourced territories.
What kind of monkeys?
Vervets.
Vervet?
Vervet. Vervet.
Vervet. And repeat the sentence.
Oh yeah, of course. Have larger, better resourced territories, better quality, and suffer fewer invasions. Larger groups of vervets have larger, better resourced territories, and suffer fewer invasions. I'm going to give you another data point you're allowed to use. I have to set it up though, before you start writing. Once again, larger groups of vervets have larger, better resourced territories and suffer fewer invasions. But I want to use another really interesting data point that I think you will find interesting. Oh my God, interesting. I really do think you'll find this interesting, I swear. Okay, here we go. Brexit. Let me back up. I said I would set it up first. Who thinks that the United States would be a lot better off for everyone if we broke it up into a number of smaller units? Well, think about it. Your representatives would actually be forced to represent your interest because they have a smaller number of voters, and the voters would have a bigger place in their political power. They would be forced to be more representative. No lie. That's actually true. It's absolutely true. In smaller nations, the people who are in power are forced to be more responsible to their citizens because they have fewer of them. That's just part of the mechanics of the thing. Okay, now, and who has noticed that there are clearly almost tribal, ethnocentric, religious, basic fundamental differences that divide different parts of the country? Right, okay. Let me explain something. This is universally accepted among economic theorists, political theorists, and others that smaller states would be better for the people who are living in them. And this is why Brexit happened. However, they don't break down that way. The states never do. And so over the past, well, it's been 100, but over the past 70 years especially, there has been a well-developed theory emerging among historians, political theorists, economic theorists, about why the world is filled with massive states. Can you tell me what it is now? Larger, more powerful states don't get invaded. They rule the world. They simply do. They've got bigger armies, they got more political influence, more political power, more land, more resources, more trade. Whether or not we are now a gigantic sucking sound from China, the fact is we still are a massive economic presence. We are a gigantic presence that China can never actually ignore, even though it wants to, right? Our power is in the vast number of economic, political, personal, resource units that are contained in this massive system. And basically, I don't think there are really many historians that even disagree with this anymore. The fact is the modern world and the emergence of large states and the EU, which Brexit, England tried to quit. And how has England done since it tried to quit and be a smaller, more representative unit?
Not great.
It has done very badly. So you are allowed to use this on the exam as a piece of evidence. It is a well-accepted theory of history that state size reflects the need to control power, wealth, and status. Otherwise, California would do friggin' great on its own. It just would. Even if you're a conservative. I'm not pointing out that the left would do better. I'm pointing out that both liberals, conservatives, and everyone else would do better if the state were smaller. Because we would be battling out at a level where our interests are actually more localized, not so much at a kind of global level where no one gives a shit about what anyone in California does. You do realize that the presidency doesn't even care about California. When's the last time that a major political figure for president actually ever campaigned in California? Do you even know?
No.
You don't know because it hasn't happened in the modern era.
Wait.
That hurts both liberals and conservatives. It's just interesting, isn't it? So I think that's freaking interesting. Like, the world being the way it is probably because of this. And remember when I did Churchill, I remember I showed you all the human games. What were all the human games about? What are all the wars about? I'm a bitch. That really fucks your future. You realize that, right? We're not moving toward democracy. You can't. Moving toward democracy would be to move towards smaller, more representative units. You can't do it. So democracy can't be the goal. Democracy could be a good thing to want, and you could make a goal out of it. But it can't be the goal, can it? That's all you have to admit. I'm not trying to get you to change your political ideas, but think about it. If democracy is the goal, you make a smaller system more representative, more flexible, more able to pick its own way of ruling and leading and trading. But that's not going to happen. That's why now, who knows about Britain maybe rejoin the EU now? Who's been reading about this? There it is. You're my friend in the back there. You keep all this shit. Good for you. Yeah, it's happening because Britain is tanking. Son of a bitch. Then there's British sociality. Okay, so you can see there's the classic look of a creature looking to see why you're looking at it. What do you think you're doing? My dog. Oh, God. My dog goes out to the bathroom. I live in an area where there's lots of animals. You know that friggin' dog never sees anything outside of its peeing on something. It literally never notices the wild. I'm like, dog, you're supposed to protect me from the wolves over there. And what about the deer right up on the hill right there? You gonna go eat it? Pee back in the house. Like, my dog is not good at this at all. I'm always surprised. Today, I'm not over here with him. And he's peeing right here. He's peeing right here. And there's a squirrel in a tree. You guys think I just make up this shit for the fuck of it?
You just said
I
no.
don't think so, no.
There's a squirrel in the tree a foot away from my dog. I took a picture just so I could show my dog. Dude,
Or your dog understand what you're showing him that?
Likely not.
it's crazy. I'm having fun with you so it gets stuck in your head. So he said, you know what? This whole resource model, it can't be true. I have fun doing this class. I really do. If I make you think, and we all have fun, and we all pass it and get good grades, I hope this has been a good class for you. I really do. Okay, so here we go. He said, you know what? Van Schaik said, it can't be resources. Here's why. So let's take capuchins. Remember the capuchins with their like shellfish? Remember why we talked about them?
Yeah.
Okay, New World monkeys, very smart, incredibly interesting creatures. So let's make a dominance hierarchy for these creatures. Okay, we've got two different groups, Group A and Group B. It's a really brilliant analysis. So Van Schaik does a study of their caloric intake. Remember, most creatures are a couple of meals away from starving to death. And what he noted was that from the top to the bottom, in terms of resource acquisition per day, there was up to a 30% difference. That is, number 7 was getting up to 30% fewer calories than number 1. Okay, now there's one more piece you have to know. If you look at an equal member of different groups, there's only about, say, a few percent calorie difference. So if you're 1, you're getting, or you're number 7, you're getting 30% fewer calories than number 1. But if you're this one over here, you may only be getting a few percent fewer calories. So automatically, if it was only about calories, what should you do if you are these guys?
Go alone.
Say it?
Go alone.
Well, not quite alone, but what should you do?
Join another group?
Form a new group. Because then, let's say we do it with 5. 5 becomes 1, 5, 2, 6, 3, 7. Suddenly, 5's calories, let's say 5 is, say, 20% fewer calories. 5's calories go immediately up. And Van Schaik says these animals aren't dumb. They're starving. They wouldn't know what to do. Remember the macaques? Same problem. They suffer from significant predation. That's why the females at the bottom weren't getting enough calories. They're still sticking around. Why don't they, he said? Predators. So he immediately demonstrates that there's a problem with this whole make a big group argument when you try to say that the big group got made about resources because after all, well, this part of the group, they're not getting the resources, are they? Do you see it now? There's the key. It may be good for number 1, 2, and 3, breaking point being 4, fair enough, halfway through. But for these guys, they have no reason to think that being in a big group gets them resources. By the way, once massive agricultural empires flee, who's read Yuval Noah Harari's *Sapiens*? Anybody? I was hoping my friend in the back had. Great book, *Sapiens*. So right away when you invent high agriculture, the people who are powerful and rich get healthier, live greater lives. Everybody else, all the peasants, slaves, and everybody else, guess what happens to their lifespan and their health and their resource quality? It immediately hanks. Lifespans go down 20 years. Disease goes massively upward. Everything goes wrong. Harari calls it, as many others do, the worst decision ever made by humans, to leave mobile communities and end up settling down into vast agricultural empires. Why don't the people at the bottom leave? Why don't we leave? Because you'll either end up in Badlands. When you go up out of the Nile River Valley, where are you?
Badlands? Desert?
Nowhere lands. Or Badlands, where there are bandits. Or you have to go to the next agricultural empire over. And are they going to accept you?
No.
Probably.
No. See how we are now back again to the resource acquisition argument? How they tie in together weirdly? So interesting. So what he said was, there's got to be something going on that's keeping them together in the groups. He says predation. Amazing. Groups get bigger and bigger and bigger because of war. Yeah. In this case, he said, I got a bunch of evidence here. First off, I love this one. He says really, really big primates tend to forage alone. Chimpanzees. So chimpanzees spread out during the day and forage alone. Why? Most creatures never do that because they're too big to fuck with. 2, the Thai species. Remember the Thai forest group? In the Thai forest, they were all together. Even though they were competing over resources, they were together because it kept them from being eaten. What's it better to do? Be really, really hungry or die? I think it's better to be really, really hungry. I know. I love it. Die. And I had to think, wait, did I say it that way? I get confused here.
Chimpanzees go alone, or do they are they social creatures?
You know what? I'm so fucking hungry, just eat me. So the Thai forest species, they hang out together in groups, even though they compete for resources. And then we won't worry about the macaques. Okay. For those who are really interested. So these are easy. Large creatures forage alone because they're not in danger of being eaten. Mixed species tend to compete for resources but don't get eaten. The macaques is a weird story. It's kind of fun. You've got an island group of macaques right next to a mainland. You've got macaques on the island and on the mainland. On the island, as you might expect, there are very few predators. Predators don't like little islands. Why? No food. So on the mainland, you've got macaques and lots of predators. The groups on the mainland are much larger, the macaque groups, than they are on the island. Well, there you go. It's nice and easy, isn't it? The mainland macaques have to stay in larger groups because they're afraid of being eaten. The macaques on the island are like, fuck it, we'll split up. We're not going to be eaten. Okay? All right. I'm going to stop right there. Oh, yes, go. Or dwarfism. So remember, I think YouTube points out, on islands, sometimes they get smaller because they don't have to worry about predation, and they sometimes get gigantic. And I think, anyway, so you get very, changes on island occur. Gigantism seems to be about avoiding resource crash, right? Okay. Because the bigger you get, the lower calorie quality calories you can live off of, and the more fat you can store for the boom and bust cycles found on islands. The dwarfism occurs because you don't need to be as big because predators are no longer after you. So it appears to be 2 conditions. Any bio majors, you can check me on that, because Lord knows I already messed up the cockroach thing. And the cockroach store was from 15 years ago. It's changed, so that may have changed too. So yeah, don't let me get away with that. Research that. Okay, so I stopped there. I have to run today because I have to be in Moore Park in an hour. So make sure you get your name on the roll. Okay, don't forget about that. Have a wonderful rest of your day. You guys are an amazing class. You make coming to school really fun. And don't get depressed about college. It's just a series of stories to help you think.